Seated on the dais with me, Chairperson of the International Zinc Association, Arun Mishra ji, Executive Director of IZA from the US, Andrew Green, my colleague in Parliament, and himself an entrepreneur, Raju Bistaji, Rahul Sharma ji, and distinguished delegates present here this morning. Congratulations on the opening of the 4th International Zinc Summit here in New Delhi. As Andrew said, that this is an opportunity for great minds to come together, brainstorm, cogitate, exchange best practices, learn from each other as fellows within the same industry. And I firmly believe that the discussions over the period of the summit will lead to new solutions not only for India, but on the international arena. Summits such as this enable industry to come together to explore new methodologies, new possibilities on the fronts of technology upgradation, better productivity, and both technology upgradation and better productivity enables firms to produce products at much more competitive prices and a better value proposition for their clients. We in the Ministry of Steel certainly believe that our sector is heralded for probably the highest growth period ever experienced by this sector in the history of India. In the last 9 years, we have increased capacity from 100 million tons per annum to 150 million tons per annum. Production capability from 80 MTPA to 120 MTPA. Per capita consumption of steel, which is way below the world average. 9 years ago, at roughly 57 kilos per capita to almost 78 kilos per capita, an increase of again close to 50%. But I believe that we are on a cusp of a greater CAGR for our industry. We're looking at a compounded annual growth rate upwards of double digits, between 11 to 11.5%. We are looking at greater augmentation of capacity from the current 150 MTPA to doubling it almost to 300 MTPA by the year 2030. India today already is the second largest steel producer in the world. But concomitant with that great production capability also comes responsibility, also comes accountability. And therefore, one of the first things that we did in the ministry was to put together 2 advisory groups, because I believe that the more we consult with our stakeholders, the more we exchange best practices with our stakeholders, the more we learn along with our stakeholders, In our stakeholders' success, I firmly believe, lies our success and the country's success. And so with that ideology, we set up 2 advisory groups, one for the ISPs and the other for the secondary steel industry. Over the last 6 to 7 months, we have met about 8 times, and I firmly believe that Prime Minister Modi's government, he has always believed and asked us to look at a whole of government approach, to take the agenda forward not necessarily as a regulator, but as a facilitator. And therefore, through these advisory committee meetings, unlike the normal bureaucracies that one is experienced, we clearly identify action points, the possible solutions, the responsibility with whom each of those action points lie, and in the next advisory committee meeting, an ATR, an action taken report, is submitted by each stakeholder, including myself, thereby paving the way for a roadmap towards solution and success. India has tremendous potential, ladies and gentlemen. We have come a long way. In 2013-14, we were the 11th largest economic power in the world. In the last 8.5 years, we have moved from the 11th position to the 5th position today. But that journey, I believe, has just begun. International forecasts for India's economy position India as the 3rd largest economic powerhouse in the world by the year 2030, ahead of Germany and Japan. And if that is our aspiration, if that is our goal, as I mentioned, along with positioning, along with leadership, also comes accountability, and therefore greater production numbers, greater capacity numbers. Along with that must come a balance with the Prime Minister's commitment to net zero carbon emissions by 2070. We have to learn to coexist with the environment. We have to learn to respect the environment. The world can no longer live with the linear model of take, make and dispose. Recycling has to become a part of our existence. And the raison d'etre for that is that we, as this generation of human beings, hold Mother Earth and her repository in a fiduciary responsibility for future generations to come. And therefore the process of adaptation, the process of mitigation must become a mantra in the days to come. The steel sector, as I said, holds tremendous growth. And as Andrew said and as Arunji said, steel and zinc go hand in hand. We have just put forward a productivity-linked incentive scheme for specialty steel, and that includes steel products with zinc. And I'm proud to report to you that the allocation of 6,232 crores for this PLI scheme, we have awarded 54 applications coming from close to 26 companies. a future investment of close to 30,000 crores, a capacity addition of close to 26 million tons, and an employment generation potential of close to 55,000 people. Now zinc, when Arun Mishra ji talked about the railways, zinc is a parallel rail to steel. Zinc and steel go hand in hand. A precious natural resource. Zinc was first discovered in India not 200 years ago, not 300 years ago, but this non-ferrous metal was discovered in India in the 13th century. So we have an age-old legacy of exploration and production of zinc. In those days it was used more for utensils, more for artifacts. But India again has come a long way in that journey from the 13th century. Today we are one of the top ranking zinc producers in the world, the fourth largest producer, producing almost 6% of the world's capacity of zinc. It's an excellent corrosion resistant material, as Arun Mishra ji talked about. It acts in a chemical reaction as a barrier between steel and oxygen, thereby preventing corrosion between Fe and O2, and therefore about 80% of our zinc is consumed in India in hot dip galvanizing of steel tubes, wires, sheets, structurals, fastener wires, buckets, cables and trays. But there are new markets on the horizon. New markets which present tremendous potential to the zinc industry. And those are our highways, renewable energy, rural electrification, galvanized rebars for RCC structures, smart cities. And India with her huge capex-led program due to the Prime Minister's sankalp and commitment to growth through capex. This year's budget has forecasted almost a 10 lakh crore capex program. And that will usher in new markets for you. That will usher in new opportunities for you. And especially because galvanized steel not only increases the life of steel, but it makes our infrastructure much more durable and much safer. Now couple that with our geographical positioning. India today has a coastline of close to 8,000 kilometers. And this whole coastal area is extremely salty in its atmospheric content, which makes it more prone to steel corrosion, which in turn provides a great market opportunity for all of you. The Indian Railways, as Arun Mishra ji was talking about, has a huge expansion program. And it's one of the biggest consumers of steel today. It's currently on a modernization spree of its assets. And I've been told that the International Zinc Association, along with the Steel Authority of India, is developing new ideas with the Indian Railways to make sure that our railways are free from corrosion in the years to come. There's a large-scale infrastructure expansion happening across the length and breadth of India. And that too presents a tremendous opportunity for our sector. At the same time, as Andrew said, we have to be cognizant of our responsibilities. And therefore, the area of recycling must also receive its due importance in this conference. The recycling of zinc waste, the recycling of zinc residues, as well as our used lead batteries. These are very important components of hopefully the conversation that will occur to ensure sustainable development, not only across India, but across the world. I do hope that this conversation, through the International Zinc Association Summit, the galaxy of leaders that I see before myself, will lead to productive dialogues and discussions, and many, many learnings for industry, and many learnings for government as well. And on a closing note, we would welcome your suggestions, your directions, so that we continue to work together to make India that global, responsible economic powerhouse that she must be in the coming decade across the globe, ushering India's journey from her Amrit Kal to her Shatabdi Kal. Thank you very much for having me.
Many thanks, sir, for